Thank you very much, Nakamura Sensei.
So-called the Tsubazeki. It was called the hell distance.
The distance of hell.
Hell distance. If this is katana, you can cut it out and damage, right? When I started kendo about 60 years ago, there is no Tsubazeki. Only kote, man, and then tayatari, man, back. Only hikimen, not from Tsubazeki, not from, no, not from Tsubazeki. Shinai kendo, starting Shinai kendo, then Tsubazeki is getting more popular. But actually, at the short promotion examination, they don't account from man from Tsubazeki hikimen, hikiwata. Doesn't, not good point. And all Japan Kendo Federation is thinking one of the biggest headache, Tsubazeki, because taking waste right here, right?
Wasting time.
Wasting time, and then about this match, 3 minutes, about 2 minutes, stay Tsubazeki. Waste your time. Especially for World Kendo Tournament from Tsubazeki, unusual, and we so fortunately, all Japan Kendo Federation is thinking about this is a good chance because of the corona. So we have to change to, in order to avoid the Tsubazeki. For us, Tsubazeki is a common sense, one of the kendo practice, right? But from now on, we have to change the kendo. Because man is okay, but like Nakamura Sensei said, no Tsubazeki. We have to think that way. After coronavirus is settling down, but continue going to no Tsubazeki. World Kendo Tournament, and each, big haikai. Promotion examination, same thing. So we should, there is no Tsubazeki. One more time, Tsubazeki is held distance, used to be. We call this katana, so number one, ask number one. Look at me, number one. 刀の利口による公明世代に刀。If this is katana, number one, ask number one.
So
completely change, right? So concept.
So
we
he said
do,
for
concept, Tsubazeki, but we should clear out.
Furutani Sensei, yoroshiii desu ka?
Right.
So for Article 1, which he just said in Japanese, of course, the purpose of the regulations is to get shiaisha to play fair at shiai of International Kendo Federation in accordance with the principles of the sword and to properly referee shiai without prejudice. So what he is saying about that distance, play fair in accordance to the principles of the sword.
I'm, talking about from now on, each, like World Kendo Tournament or big, tournament, we don't have the Tsubazeki anymore. We should think that way. So we have to change to practice that way, right? Doesn't account, hikimen, especially, promotion examination, hikimen, this is no good. All the senseis said always that kind used to have no hikime. From Shinai Kendo expanded, then hikime getting even more. Okay? So we head back to the Kendo right now. So probably all Japan Kendo Federation is thinking about this is a good chance to improve Kendo.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, I'd like to continue on today with our Shinpan seminar. As you can all see, we've set up a court here. We're not allowed to put tape on our floor, so it is a little bit difficult as far as the lines are concerned exactly. But we'll go over the principles of how to be a referee, a Shinpan, and how to judge fairly. And judging fairly, of course, as Article 1 says, is the most important element of a Shinpan, is without prejudice. In other words, without making a predetermination about who is better and what they're going to hit, or, oh, I'm going to, give more for this kind of waza or that waza, is to fairly judge what is going on in front of you. And the three Shinpan together as one unit is the most important element in this. We have actually in Kendo the progression of our children, of beginners, evolving into good Kenshi, is all determined by what happens in Shiai. Because Shiai is a place to test what you have been practicing at your respective dojo and from your sensei. If you are practicing habits which are incorrect according to the principles of the sword, and you get a point for that bad habit, are you not going to continue that? Because suddenly you've been given the opportunity to continue a bad habit and been given actually an award for that bad habit. So it is the responsibility of the Shinpan, especially, to judge fairly and to promote the evolution of good kendo for those kenshi. That is a very heavy responsibility. Think about this. If you promote bad kendo, then everyone is going to follow and jump over that cliff together. If you want that to be the future of kendo, then kendo itself will change. And so I have heard many times from high-ranking sensei in Japan and so forth. A minute ago in Wakare, he did this maneuver. I have heard so many times complaints about that maneuver because it does not follow any of the appropriate, correct principles of doing kendo. So those kinds of habits are what we as Shinpan need to focus on and make sure that we're promoting for our federation, and then in turn for other federations and other kenshi, because we do go to the world championships. If we show that kind of kendo to the rest of the world, oh, shame. How can we, expect to be the top in the world if we do those kinds of things? So it all comes back down to the very simple thing that our Shinpan need to be well-trained, well-versed in what the rules are, and that's why I've asked all of you who come today, read your rule book over and over again. It's one of the most important things you can do. Study in kendo is the other half of what we do besides training. And so that study means reading your rule book, understanding what the concepts are, and applying them when you do Shinpan. And I'd like to start off by, of course, we have this rule book. In the 2020 Shinpan seminar in Vancouver, I brought up 2 points to the leaders of that event. And And these were number one. Of course, Article 1 is the most important. And the second one is what is Yuko Datotsu? Yuko Datotsu, or the making of Ippon by the 5 different elements. If we go to Article 12, Yuko Datotsu is defined as an accurate strike or thrust made onto Datotsubui of the opponent's Kendogu with Shinai at its Datotsubu in high spirits and correct posture, being followed by Zanshin. So those 5 things we understand, correct? However, the interpretation of a couple of these elements are rather different, because when I hear the Japanese side of that,
はい。
この12条読んでいただけますか？
日本語で。
日本語で。
はい。有効打突は充実した規制、適正の姿勢を持って市内の打突部で打突部位を多筋正しく打突し、斬新あるものとする。
Okay, so those of you that can understand Japanese a little bit, or a lot, will understand the words in that. There is one part of this which I brought up, which is a very, very important element in what we do in Shiai, and that is hasuji tadashiku. Hasuji means directional cut of the blade. And yet in English, it says is defined as an accurate strike or thrust. But that does not say anything about the directional cut of the blade. Because after all, we are going back to using a sword. And so that directional cut of the blade is something that is not clearly defined in the English version. Because what is an accurate thrust or strike? We have to understand that from practice. But if we are not practicing that correctly with the directional cut, then we are practicing the wrong thing over and over and over again. And as Shinpan, we're going to give points to somebody who did not even use the blade. How can we give a point to someone who did not use the tool, the sword, correctly? It's like trying to drive a nail into a board with the handle of the hammer. You can't do it. It doesn't make sense. So this element and the other element that I brought up was this little book, which I'm sure none of you have ever seen before. This is called a teriki, and this is theory on ideas of the rule book. So it actually talks about several of the elements of our rules and how to apply them. But if we don't have this in English, how can we understand this? I'd like to ask Sato Sensei, if I can, to explain what this book is about.
This one is supplement of the Shinpan book, and I always read before come out to the doing Shinpan. Very good one. In Seattle HKF tournament, Hawaii Kendo Federation has participated continuously, and I participated like captain. And then in order to become champion, about 4 or 5 matches you have to win. And then in the situation about what's the situation. It's seldom that before me, 4 people already finished the tournament we won. Yeah. Then I just do a nice proper shizen, no effort. But frequently, the situation. If I lose with 2 point nothing, we lose. If I lose 1 point nothing, we tie. If I tie, we might tie. If I win 1 point win, then tie or win. 2 point win, we win or tie. That kind of a situation when you are captain, you have to think about situation come up, what to do. So if we are behind, it's really stressful. What should I do? But if I have to tie, then it was Subateria. That's the good thing, But opponent comes ban and then Subateria, yeah? And then opponent stay there, and I feel stupid, Okay, I don't move. But Koda Sensei's deal, there's no more Subateria now. If you go man and Subateria, you have to go immediately. He was a man, or otherwise you cannot stay here. And there's no wakare, not supposed to wakare, because 2 of you mutually, voluntarily, same time, same speed, wakare. So that initially we talked about if during the course of wakare, because wakare, I'm wakaring and good opportunity, beautiful man. Yeah. Koda Sensei says that is a hansoku, not a form. We have to understand that kind of thing mutually, 2 raised and beautiful men. In the past, that was a beautiful man, but right now, COVID is mutually wakare and good opportunity, but not allowed. Supposed to go back and stuff. So, even though it was a beautifully executed man, come hands-off will not be formed. That's what the Koda Sensei mentioned. And this one, only important thing I want to mention is the first one. Shinpan no kokoroe. The Shinpan person have to think about it. First, 公平無視であること、fair and square, not the prejudice. And second, 試合審判規則運営要領を熟知し正しく運用できること。You understand rules properly and then execute that rule properly. And number 3, 権利に精通していること。The principle, sword principle and kendo principle is thoroughly understood. Like Mr. Batten already told these things. And number 4, 審判技術に熟達していること。You have to practice how to 審判 raise the flag, how to positions. And number 5, 健康体で活動的であること。You have to maintain your health. If you get sick, you cannot do proper 審判 and you have to be active. You cannot move around to take a good position, then you can see better. And second thing is 留意事項。服装を単性にすること。Okay. So whatever jacket is blue, dark blue or blue, red tie, gray pants, and socks has about the blue socks. I don't remember. Normally they don't really strict about socks, but that kind of thing. and then tie is not down, really. And when I came out, and my jacket button was off, Shinpan said, tell Sato to put that button on. So, really. And number 2, 姿勢、態度、所作などを厳正にすること。You cannot go in like that. You have to properly. It's hard work to maintain proper posture, but you cannot go in like that, like because parents watching you. My kids practice so hard and that and other people raised and that simple one are doing nothing. Sometimes you see other people raise, one person raise and other two. Well, what do you do? One person raise and other people. You say, Yame! Only! I took that man. You didn't judge it. You didn't show judgment. What do you think? Most likely people think one raised and other people think didn't do anything, not important. But you cannot just not showing judgment because the rule said one person raised and you have to make a judgment. So if somebody, even 2 people raised or 1 point, other person didn't do it. Yummy. What's your opinion? You didn't show it. Yeah? And then maybe out. Actually, if you cannot make a judgment when other people were not fun. So, 言語が明晰である。So you have to command in Japanese, yeah? はじめやめ、めありこでありどあり、別れ and so forth. So you learn thoroughly and fluently. So you have a confidence, saying loud. And 数多く審判を経験し、反省と研鑽に努めること。So you have to experience. Without experience, cannot do it. So it's hard with not many CI available, and then how can I get experience in front of CI? So like your dojo has a mock CI, you volunteer CI and see how to raise and how to position, practice, and then clearly, loudly, so everybody can hear this. And another last one is 良い審判を見て学ぶこと means observe good referees, the way they do. You could tell if you go to the tournament that which one is confident Shinpan, good one, the time, what he or she raises at the proper time and proper hit raising. So observe that good one and love. So this kind of. But important thing is Banten said Banten Sensei said go back to number 1. For me, say time. And in order to do that, I want you to do lots of goni. But goni shouldn't be long story, what you eat for lunch today or briefly. I see this, yes or no. Not long story but utilize the goni because 3 of them talk about it, yes or no. Okay. But, like I said, have to thoroughly understand the rule. Rule changing because of following. No more Spadelia. Spadelia, both of them same time for tennis. Without being told to wakare. So wakare shouldn't be so much. Nakamura Sensei explained that over here, Fine. Don't do wakare. You go out, yeah. Maybe yame, go back. That kind of thing. Like calorie. Any questions or any comment? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so with that, I'd like to, everyone can step outside of the court lines here. And we will start, let's see. Colin Maruoka. Colin.
Oh, right here.
Oh, okay. Hi, Colin, and Chris Sandang is Gail Mejia. Okay, and then I'd like to add with that